Hey there, fellow AI enthusiasts. Welcome to my channel. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to the AI Infinite Talker, a tool that lets you create endless surrealistic audiobooks right on your PC for free. Here, AI's hallucinations are a feature, not a bug. Whether you want sarcastic commentary, poetic dialogues, or sci-fi adventures, this tool has got you covered. Curious to try it out? Head over to the GitHub link in the video description and start your infinite storytelling journey today. Let's get started.
This morning I've noticed big hole in my spaceship window. Also I saw mouse fighting with the ant in my bathroom, the joys of intergalactic living. As I stewed here, sipping on my freshly brewed space coffee, I thought to myself, yes, just another typical Tuesday on the Starship toilet trouble. I mean, who needs functioning windows and a pest-free bathroom when you're hurtling through the cosmos at light speed? Apprentice, you or the mouse and ant are just trying to get in on the whole space tourism thing. The mouse is probably running for office on Mousy for Life, and the ant is its campaign manager. Who knows? Maybe they'll even get a cameo in the next issue of Galactic Pest Control magazine. As I gazed out at the swirling galaxies outside our, somewhat questionable living quarters, I pondered the meaning of it all. The mouse and ant duo had just finished holding an impromptu press conference on the ship's holodeck, declaring their intention to run for Galactic Counselor on a platform of free space snacks for all. Their campaign slogan, "A mouse ant to remember," was already making waves throughout the intergalactic community. I chuckled at myself as I pondered whether they'd actually win. After all, who wouldn't vote for a ticket that promised endless cheese and crumbs in space? The possibilities were endless. As I gazed out at the endless expanse of stars, I couldn't help but chuckle at the absurdity of it all. Just then, my trusty shipboard AI, Bertha, chimed in with her signature dry wit. And don't forget to tune into Toilet Trouble's flagship, get it? Flagship? Radio show, where we'll be discussing the pressing issues of zero-gravity toilet paper and space-age sewage management. And I giggled at the prospect of live broadcasting a discussion on how to properly dispose of used space diapers while maintaining a decent stench-to-galaxy ratio. Meanwhile, the mouse and ant duo were busy strategizing their next move, possibly starting a line of intergalactic pest control products. Mosquito and antibiotic spray, anyone? As I continued to chuckle at the absurdity of it all, I couldn't help but wonder what other out-of-this-world surprises awaited us on our journey. Would the ant duo's campaign promises materialize into a utopian society where every spaceship had an all-you-can-eat space buffet? Or would the opponents, the hawk and hamster ticket, foul play for all, swoop in with a campaign slogan that made even more sense? Meanwhile, on the ship, our ship's AI, SARA, was busy hacking into the Galactic Counselor's database to get an early look at the mouse and duo's chances of winning. "It's not looking good," she whispered to me, "but with a campaign like that, they've got nothing to lose, unless they run out of cheese." As I continued to chuckle at Bertha's witty remark, our ship's navigation system suddenly beeped, alerting us to an unexpected course correction. It seemed that a rogue asteroid had been rerouted into our trajectory by a group of mischievous alien pranksters known for their fondness of space-based hijinks. "Well, this is just peachy," I muttered to myself. while Bertha chimed in with a sarcastic tone. Yes, because nothing says fun like dodging an asteroid field while listening to a discussion on zero-gravity toilet paper. The Mousian D ant duo, meanwhile, were now huddled together, frantically brainstorming ways to monetize our impending close encounter with the asteroid. As SARA's words hung in the air like a stale space cracker, I couldn't help but chuckle at her cheesy joke. But just the VN, our ship's comms system crackled to life with an unexpected transmission from the Galactic Counselor herself. Attention, all spacecraft and sentient beings, she boomed. I'm pleased to announce that the Mouse-Ant duo has been declared the official winners of the intergalactic election, but only in the Andromeda Galaxy's 7th quadrant. It seems your promise of a buffet-to-go policy for all space travelers had resonated with the voters. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the Hawk and Hamster Ticket was already planning their next move, or should I say their next foul play. As the asteroid drew near, Bertha's sarcasm gave way to a more serious tone. Okay, let's not panic. Yet. We need Tor. Calibrate our thrusters and make like a spacecraft-shaped bullet out of here. I nodded in agreement while the mouse and ant duo began frantically typing away on their spaceship-sized calculators, exclaiming if we can just harness the kinetic energy from this asteroid, we could generate enough power to fuel our entire mission. And also become internet billionaires. Meanwhile, I couldn't help but wonder if zero-gravity toilet paper would really be a thing in space. A trivial concern, perhaps, but one that still lingered in the back of my mind like an asteroid in low Earth orbit. The counselor's voice dripped with sarcasm as she continued. And now, I'm sure you're all eager to know what this means for your respective galaxies. Well, let me clarify. The Mouse-Ant duo will be receiving a ceremonial plate of space cheddar and a guaranteed spot on the Andromeda Galaxy's 7th quadrant ballot. Again. Meanwhile, Hawk and Hamster Ticket has announced plans to challenge the results in the Supreme Galactic Court, citing foul play on the part of their opponents. I'm sure this will be a riveting case to watch, much like the time the giant space squid was accused of stealing the world's largest space pickle. As the mouse and ant duo continued to calculate, their excitement building with each passing second, I turned to Bertha and whispered, if we do manage to harness this asteroid's energy, we'll be able to power not just our spaceship, but also a toaster that doubles as a coffee maker, and a universal translator that can understand cat meows. Bertha raised an eyebrow, unimpressed, while the mouse and ant duo chimed in with suggestions for their new space-based business venture. We could sell asteroid-mined moon rocks as keychains, or offer zero-gravity yoga classes to our fellow space travelers. The absurdity of it all was almost too much to handle. Just then, your ship's computer beeped, announcing the arrival of an unexpected transmission from Mission Control. The counselor smirked, clearly enjoying the drama unfolding before her. But wait. Here's more! The Mouse-Ant duo has also been awarded a commemorative Starship sticker for most creative use of intergalactic cheese in their campaign literature. And let's don't forget the Hawk and Hamster Tickets promise to provide free space dance lessons to every inhabitant of the galaxy if they win the election. Because, only the key to galactic prosperity is a well-executed waltz move. The counsel leaned back in her chair, a self-satisfied smile spreading across her face. This is going to be a long campaign season. And they're not happy about our new business venture plans. I translated Bertha's concerned expression into a whispered warning. Apparently, we've already been warned against using the terms asteroid-mined moon rocks and zero-gravity yoga classes in our press releases. due to trademark infringement by an intergalactic spa chain and a boutique rock shop on Mars. The mouse D and duo exchanged worried glances, while Bertha dryly added, "I'm sure the toaster coffee maker combo won't have any issues with intellectual property either." Just peachy. Our ship's computer beeped again, this time displaying a message from Mission Control that read, "Please refrain from launching any more space-based business ideas until further notice. We're trying to launch a probe." As she sat there, sipping her intergalactic coffee, the counselor's eyes began to glaze over with boredom. She had seen it all before: the endless promises of free space ice cream, the dubious claims of alien endorsements, and the inevitable mudslinging that would soon ensue. Just then, a holographic banner flashed behind her, reading "Vote for me. I'm out of this world," in glittery letters. The counselor rolled her eyes good-naturedly, chuckling to herself as she thought about the impending doom that was campaign season. Little did she know, things were about to get a whole lot weirder. I rolled my eyes good-naturedly at Bertha's deadpan commentary and turned back to the comm system. "Thanks for the update, Mission Control," I said with a hint of sarcasm. "We'll just put our intergalactic spa empire on hold until we can get permission from the Mars-based Trademark Enforcement Agency." "No worries." The compute beeped again, this time with a follow-up message. "Also, please advise your toaster coffee maker combo not to launch any kitchenware into orbit without proper clearance." I chuckled and turned back to my team. "Well, it looks like our business venture plans are being spacified on the fly." Bertha snore. Ted and the mouse and ant duo exchanged a knowing look. We were in for a wild ride. As she sat there, sipping her intergalactic coffee, the counselor's eyes began to glaze over with boredom. She had seen it all before: the endless promises of free space ice cream, the dubious claims of alien endorsements, and the inevitable mudslinging that would soon ensue. Just then, holographic banner flashed behind her, reading "Vote for me. I'm out of this world," in glittery letters. The counselor rolled her eyes good-naturedly, chuckling to herself as she thought about the impending doom that was campaign season. Little did she know, things were about to get a whole lot weirder when a group of levitating jellyfish in matching Team Me t-shirts floated into the room, each one holding a miniature megaphone. The leader of the pack, a particularly enthusiastic jellyfish named Zinc, began to speak in a high-pitched voice, shouting slogans like "Jellylicious leadership for all" and "Vote for me. I'm not as slimy as my opponent." The counselor's eyes widened in surprise as she watched the scene unfold, wondering if this was indeed the new normal for intergalactic politics. Meanwhile, a holographic assistant named Bleepy chimed in, offering live polling results and reminding everyone that in a galaxy of infinite possibilities, every vote truly does matter. The counselor's eyes glazed over once more, but this time it wasn't boredom, it was pure bewilderment. I grinned at my team's reactions, happy to see some enthusiasm after weeks of navigating bureaucratic red tape. "All right, let's get to work on that toaster coffee maker combo," I said, pulling out a tablet to start brainstorming modifications. Bertha raised an eyebrow as I began sketching out designs for a miniature solar sail and a precision-guided kitchen utensil deployment system. Our team of engineers and scientists exchanged excited whispers, already envisioning the lucrative market opportunities in intergalactic appliance sales. "Also," I say, with a mischievous grin, "I'm thinking we should trademark galactic gadgetry and maybe even get a few more patents for our toaster coffee maker combo. Who knows and we'll be able to launch a line of orbital kitchen appliances." The room erupted in chuckles, and even the usually stoic Bertha cracked a smile. Our resident tech expert Dr. Patel spoke up from the back of the room. Actually, we've been working on some ideas for our toaster coffee maker combo. If we can miniaturize it to about 10 centimeters in diameter. She paused, eyeing me mischievously. We might just be able to fit it inside one of those Martian terrain rovers. My eyes light to pee at the prospect. ... That's perfect. We could market it as a Martian coffee starter kit, complete with its own solar-powered coffee maker and toaster. Who knows, maybe even a built-in espresso machine. The room erupted in cheers and applause, and I grinned at my team. It looked like we were about to embark on the most epic adventure of our lives. All right, let's get to work, I said, clapping my hands together. We've got a galactic empire to build, and a few Martian trademarks to secure in the process. As the jellyfish rally continued to gain momentum, Zinc suddenly jumped up into the air, doing a triple somersault while shouting freedom from fantastic oppression. The crowd of levitating jellyfish erupted in cheers and applause, waving their tiny megaphones in the air. Bleepy, still chattering away, began to project holographic campaign posters featuring Zinc's slogan, "Jellylicious Leadership for All," on repeat. Meanwhile, a group of nearby sentient snails, dressed in matching "Vote No on Fantastic Reform" t-shirts, began to chant slogans like "Slow and steady wins the election." The council, now completely bewildered, could only watch as the scene devolved into utter chaos, with jellyfish, snails, and Bleepy's holographic projections all vying for attention. Just then, a giant space slug named Sluggy burst into the room, eating through the walls with its razor-sharp tongue, declaring, "I'm here to make my own campaign promises on a plate of freshly baked space slugs." I've already begun drafting the Galactic Charter. Our team leader, Zara, chimed in, her eyes shining with excitement. It'll be a sweeping document outlining the rights and responsibilities of all sentient beings within our interstellar jurisdiction. I nodded, impressed. And what about trademark law? We can't have every planet claiming galactic overlord as their own, can we? Zara smirked. Do you leave that to me? I've got a team of lawyers who are experts in intergalactic intellectual property law, or WPL for short. Just then, our communications officer, Jax, interrupted us with an urgent message. "Boss, we're receiving a transmission from Mars, and it's not just about the trademarks." As Sluggy continued to munch away, its words were translated in real time by Bleepy's holographic projector, which displayed phrases like "fresh space slug bites for all," and a plat "E of power for the people." The crowd went wild once again, with jellyfish waving their tentacles and snails high-fiving each other. Zinc, still airborne, seized the opportunity to make a dramatic speech from the rafters, while the counselor cowered in the corner, muttering something about galactic governance and tentacled totalitarianism. Meanwhile, a team of robotic garden gnomes, who had been quietly observing the chaos, suddenly burst into song with a catchy tune about the importance of composting and recycling in intergalactic politics. The crowd began to sing along, with Sluggy providing an impromptu beat on its space slug drum set. Just then, giant, floating, disco ball-like asteroid named Balthazar cruised into the room, broadcasting a message that read, "Get ready for the most epic space party in the history of the galaxy." "Put it through," Zara said, her smile faltering for a moment. The screen effect flickered to life, revealing a Martian official with a look of utter seriousness on his face. "Greetings, Zara and team," he began. "We've been monitoring your Galactic Charter draft, and we have some concerns about the use of the term galactic citizen." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Go on. The Martian official cleared his throat. You see, our researchers have discovered that a 19th century Earth novelist used the phrase in one of her science fiction tales. We believe T is essential to establish whether this precludes your use of the term. Zara rolled her eyes good-naturedly. This is getting interesting. The crowd's excitement reached a fever pitch as Sluggy launched into an impromptu space slug dance routine, its body glowing with a mesmerizing display of flashing colors and pulsating rhythms. The robotic garden gnomes, now fully embracing their inner divas, harmonized with Balthazar's booming voice, which was somehow simultaneously coming from the asteroid itself and being broadcast through the galaxy on every available frequency. Zinc, still suspended in mid-air, began to tap his feet along with the music, while the counselor stumbled out of the corner, tripped over her own tentacles, and face-planted into a nearby snack table. Meanwhile, Beals, EP's holographic projector began to malfunction, causing Sluggy's phrases to get increasingly absurd. Infinite donut holes for all, free fuzzy, socks to the people, and galactic governance by the power of cheesy puns. The crowd roared with laughter while a team of passing space chickens, drawn in by the commotion, began to play an air guitar solo that perfectly complemented the disco-tastic beat emanating from Balthazar. As the party showed no signs of slowing down, Sluggy shouted out its next phrase, "Everybody's invited?" Even the cow, in Siler, with a side of Snackgate. "I can see why you'd be concerned," I chimed in, trying to stifle a grin. "After all, we wouldn't want any intergalactic IP disputes over something as trivial as a word." The Martian official's expression remained solemn, but a hint of amusement danced in his eyes. "Trivial? This is the fate of linguistic legacy hanging in the balance," he said dryly. I chuckled. "Well, if T makes you feel better, we can just change it to galactic person of consequence or something." Zara laughed. T leaned over to whisper, "Only if they insist on trademarking NPCs too." The crowd erupted into cheers and applause as Sluggy continued to spew forth a barrage of ridiculous declarations. "Today is officially National Dance on One Leg Day. Free hugs for all sentient beings, especially those with excellent mustaches. And now it's time to unveil the world's largest, most fantastic, and utterly unnecessary slip and slide." Meanwhile, the space chickens finished their air guitar solo and took a triumphant bow, while Balthazar's disco machine began to spin out a funky beat that seemed to synchronize perfectly with the thrumming of Sluggy's malfunctioning holographic projector. Just then, a group of passing aliens, drawn by the commotion, floated down from the sky and began to hand out complimentary freeze-dried snacks to the delighted crowd. The Martian official's eyes widened in mock horror at the suggestion. "Trademarking NPC? You think that's a joke? I've seen T. He marketing briefs for their intergalactic merchandise line. NPCs would be emblazoned on towels, coffee mugs, and galaxy-conquering t-shirts everywhere." Zara giggled. D and I nodded in agreement. "Yeah, we do. And want to give them a monopoly on non-player character merchandising. That's just a recipe for intergalactic disaster." The Martian official shook his head, still grinning. "I think we can agree on that much at least." Which they gratefully devoured as Sluggy announced that he was also declaring National Free Snack Day on the planet Zorgon. The aliens, impressed by Sluggy's intergalactic flair, responded with a chorus of gleeful clicks and whistles, which Sluggy took to mean they were in full agreement. Meanwhile, Balthazar's disco machine began to emit a strange glow that synchronized perfectly with the flashing lights on the space chicken's spacesuits, creating an otherworldly display of shimmering colors and beats. As the crowd danced and snacked, Sluggy proclaimed that it was also time to unveil his latest invention, the inflatable T-Rex suit of ultimate justice. The Martian official sighed and rubbed his temples. Fine, fine. We'll have to come up with something else. NPC brand. It is already taken by a line of mediocre space soap, and non-player character company. Sounds like a failed startup from the early 21st century. I'm not sure. What's more depressing, the fact that we can't trademark NPC, or that those soap people managed to corner the market on a decent brand name. Zara chuckled. Ed and I chimed in, hey, at least it's not as bad as trying to trademark Intruder Alert after the Great Andromeda Infection of 2287. The Martian official raised an eyebrow. Oh yeah? What happened? Ed with that? The crowd erupted into a frenzy of cheers and applause as Sluggy proudly unveiled the inflatable T-Rex suit of ultimate justice. The suit? WW. It looked suspiciously like a giant pink balloon animal with teeth, was met with a mixture of awe and confusion from the aliens. Balthazar Bear the Showman began to DJ a remix of the chicken dance that perfectly complemented the suit's flashing lights. As Sluggy do, and the suit, it promptly inflated to 3 times its normal size, causing him to bounce around like a human trampoline. The crowd sped in amazement as the suit suddenly sprouted a pair of built-in laser guns, which began firing beams of pure justice at any snack wrapper that dared to enter its radius. Oh boy, do you remember? Sarah said, stifling a grin. We tried to trademark Intruder Alert for our line of intergalactic security systems, but it turned out the infamous space pirate, Captain Vortex, had already registered it as his personal battle cry. He even he marked his own catchphrase, Vortex is coming, and so are the lawyers. The Martian official shook his head, chuckling. I'm surprised, Ed, you didn't get sued into oblivion. What did you do anyway? I shrugged. We ended rebranding as Galactic Guardian, but we still have to pay Vortex a royalty every time we use the word intruder. The aliens, who had been observing the spectacle with equal parts confusion and amusement, suddenly erupted into a chorus of oohs and ahs as Sluggy's inflatable T-Rex suit began to emit a powerful sonic wave that caused every nearby snack food item to levitate in midair. The crowd, wild as Sluggy, now bouncing around like a human pinball, used the suit's built-in snack-grabbing arm to pluck a bag of chips from the air and devour it with reckless abandon. Meanwhile, Balthazar's DJ set reached new heights as he seamlessly transitioned into a remix of the Macarena that perfectly complemented the suit's flashing lights and laser beams. As the crowd continued to cheer, Sluggy's suit suddenly inflated to 4 times its normal size, causing him to float up towards the ceiling like a human helium balloon, where he proudly proclaimed, I am the inflatable T-Rex of justice. Hear me roar, or at least make a really loud parp sound. Yeah. Good times, Zara said, chuckling along with me. But hey, at least it's not like he's charging us per galaxy or anything. Although, now that I think about it, he probably is. Anyway, after the whole ordeal, we had to come up with a new slogan for Galactic Guardian. Something that didn't sound like it was ripped off from a space pirate's Facebook page. So we settle Ed on protecting the cosmos 1 planet at a time, and then Vortex sued us again, claiming trademark infringement on the phrase, one. I swear, that T-Guy is like a black hole for lawsuits. As Sluggy continued to float above the crowd, his suit speakers blasting a sonic boom that shattered several nearby disco balls and sent shards of glitter flying everywhere, the aliens began to chant Inflato T-Rex. Inflato T-Rex. In unison. Shoal. Balthazar, seizing the moment, launched into an impromptu rendition of Who Let the Dogs Out? Complete T8 synthesized barks and woofs that perfectly harmonized with Sluggy's suit's built-in sound effects. The crowd was on its feet, waving glow sticks and inflatable guitars as the Inflato T-Rex suit suddenly released a massive jet of popcorn that engulfed everyone in a fluffy, buttery blanket. As the snack-filled chaos reached new heights, Zorvath, the lead alien, turned to his companions and said, "I think it's time we added Inflato T-Rex to our intergalactic party playlist." We tried to reason with him. Ar continued, explaining that his own business card had the slogan operating in all dimensions, which clearly implied he was going for a one theme too. But nope. Rex just gave us the old cosmic stink eye and sent us a cease and desist letter written in glittery purple ink on parchment paper. I'm pretty's. That's a trademarked font by now. Long stories. Port. We had to rebrand again as Galactic Guardian, protecting everything except for Vortex. The crowd, now fully engulfed in a sea of popcorn and glitter, began to spontaneously break into a conga line, with Sluggy at the lead, his suit speakers blasting a funky bass line that perfectly matched the rhythm of Balthazar's synthesized barks. As they ed through the snack-filled haze, a giant inflatable T-Rex suddenly appeared above them, its LED lights flashing in time with the music. The aliens, delighted by this addition to their party playlist, began to chant Inflato T-Rex 2. Electric Boogaloo, as Zorvath reached out and pressed play on his intergalactic party pod. Suddenly, a shower of confetti and rainbow-colored streamers rained down upon the crowd, setting off the built-in fog machines in Sluggy's suit, which filled the air with a thick, disco-like mist. As the party continued to escalate into an all-out intergalactic rave, the words warning, "Party may cause spontaneous dancing," flashed on the giant screen behind the inflatable T-Rex, and Balthazar's synthesized barks harmonized perfectly with the Inflato T-Rex suit soundtrack as it reached its thrilling climax. The paperwork woes of intergalactic entrepreneurship. We thought we'd seen it all after dealing with the multiverse copyright infringement lawsuit from Infinity Inc., but this Vortex debacle took the cake. Or should I say, the space cake? Our team had to scramble to redesign our logo for the umpteenth time, this time incorporating a menacing Eye of Sauron-esque design element to convey our defiance against all things Vortex-related. Meanwhile, our marketing department was like, but we were going for a whole unity and diversity vibe with the original brand. Alas, it's a EMS, even intergalactic harmony has its limits. As the party hit its peak, a swarm of robotic DJ drones descended upon the crowd, their spinning discs and pulsing lights adding an extra layer of sonic intensity to the proceedings. The aliens' chant reached a fever pitch, with some even attempting to do the Inflato T-Rex dance in celebration of the inflatable T-Rex's glorious arrival. Meanwhile, Sluggy's suit began to glow with an otherworldly energy, as if channeling the very essence of intergalactic funk into its bass line. Balthazar, sensing the moment, let out a triumphant synthesized howl that shattered the fog machines and sent confetti flying in all directions. The crowd, now completely entranced by the music and lights, began to chant more, more, M-O-R-E, as Zorvath frantically scrolled through his intergalactic party pods playlist, searching for the ultimate party anthem to take the celebration to even greater heights. As we navigated the bureaucratic black hole of the Vortex regulatory body, our team stumbled upon an obscure clause requiring all spacefaring companies to include a warning label on their marketing materials. Caution: this product may cause excessive excitement about the cosmos. We thought it was a joke, But apparently not, as we had to revise our Galactic Explorer 9000 brochures to include a stern disclaimer. Our competent Ores, the Zlorgonian conglomerate, took it to an absurd level by adding a mandatory warning. Not actually from planet Slorgon stamp on their products. Who knew intergalactic commerce could be so earthy? As Zorvath's fingers flew across the control panel, a holographic display flickered to life in front of him, showcasing an endless list of intergalactic tunes with titles like Jalunkian Funk Frenzy and Nebula Nirvana Nonsense. With a mischievous grin, he queued up Galactic Groove Hash 427, a track so mind-bendingly infectious that it caused the robotic DJ drones to spontaneously combust into a shower of glittering sparks. The crowd, now completely under Zorvath's spell, began to levitate in mid-air as the music reached critical mass, with Sluggy's suit pulsating in perfect harmony. Balthazar, till wailing like a possessed synthesizer, pointed a glowing finger at Zorvath and declared, "You're going to give them an orgasm of sound." Just as E-Party reached its zenith, and the very fabric of space-time began to warp and bend under the pressure of pure sonic bliss. We hastily revised our marketing materials to avoid being labeled as cosmically tone-deaf, but things only got weirder from there. The Vortex IR regulatory body insisted that we conduct a thorough survey of spacefaring customers to gauge their emotional response to the warning label, which led to some enlightening results. It turned out that 97% of respondents felt a strong connection to the cosmos after reading the disclaimer, while 3% reported feeling only mildly intrigued. We're still trying to wrap our heads around the fact that our marketing team is now being advised by a panel of paid space enthusiasts on how to effectively convey existential dread in 50 words or less. As the music reached its climax, the crowd's collective levitation velocity surpassed that of a black hole, threatening to suck in nearby stars and galaxies. Grurvath's grew wider as he expertly manipulated the sound waves, creating a resonance frequency that synchronized the heartbeats of every being within a 10-light-year radius. Balthazar's wails reached a deafening pitch, causing nearby planets to shudder and tremble in rhythmic sympathy. Suddenly, a lone harmonica player on a distant planet burst into an impromptu solo, perfectly mirroring Zorvath's hand movements, as if connected by an invisible sonic umbilical cord. The crowd's levitation reached new heights, with some beings merging into swirling vortexes of pure sound and color, their very essence becoming one with the music. And at the center of it all, Zorvath stood triumphant, his fingers still dancing across the control panel as he declared to the universe, "This is what I call a sonic singularity." The surveys revealed an unexpected correlation between space-themed disclaimers and spontaneous outbursts of cosmic poetry among respondents. It seemed that the more alarming the warning, the more likely one was to break into verse about black holes and dark matter. Our marketing G-team is now working with a poet laureate appointed by the Vortex regulatory body to craft the perfect balance of existential dread and space-themed wordplay. Meanwhile, sales have increased 300% among respondents who reported feeling only mildly intrigued, a trend that's left us scratching our heads and wondering if we've stumbled upon some kind of galactic marketing genius. As the sonic singularity reached its peak, the fabric of space-time began to warp and distort, causing nearby galaxies to experience a phenomenon known as rift-induced harmonic overlap. This led to an unexpected convergence of musical styles, with jazz improvisations from the Andromeda Galaxy suddenly blending with the classical sonatas of the Milky Way. Meanwhile, Zorvath's control panel began to glow with an otherworldly light, as the music itself started to self-organize into a higher level of consciousness. Balthazar's wails transformed into a celestial choir, harmonizing with the sounds of distant star-forming regions and ancient cosmic dust clouds. The lone harmonica player on the distant planet continued to solo, now joined by an invisible chorus of resonant energies from across the multiverse. As the crowd's levitation reached new heights, some beings began to merge into shimmering portals of pure sound, leading to alternate dimensions where music reigned supreme and the laws of physics were mere suggestions. And Zorvath, still triumphant at the epicenter of it all, grinned maniacally as he declared, "This is just the beginning. The sonic singularity has awakened a new era of cosmic harmonics." As the team delved deeper into this phenomenon, they discovered that the specific phrase "warning, contents may be hazardous to your sanity," seemed to trigger an 87% increase in poetic output, while "caution, cosmic events may cause spontaneous combustion of creativity," elicited a statistically significant PO5 surge in respondents who reported feeling utterly enthralled. The poet La Oriate was overheard whispering something about the harmonics of Hesperiid, and the team is now working on integrating the concept into their next product launch, which promises to be a cosmic blast of wonder that will leave you starstruck and slightly perplexed. As the multiverse continued to reverberate with the symphony of Riho, Zorvath's control panel began to transmit a holographic signal to every corner of existence. The message was simple yet profound. All beings are invited to participate in the great cosmic jam session. Simultaneously, the fabric of space-time started to thicken into a sonic crystal lattice, resonating at the frequency of pure bliss. Within Fizzen, formed lattice, the harmonica player's solo evolved into a cosmic improvisation, attracting an army of invisible jam mates from realms both familiar and unknown. The choir of wailing stars, now joined by a chorus of quantum flutes, created an otherworldly melody that echoed through eternity. As the crowd continued to levitate, merging with shimmering portals of pure sound, the boundaries between dimensions began to blur. Zorvath's grew wider, for he knew that this was not just a musical phenomenon. It was a convergence of all existence into a singular cosmic harmony. The lone harmonica player, now merged with a being from a realm where time had no meaning, looked up at Zorvath and asked, "What's the next note?" And Zorvath, his eyes aglow with an otherworldly intensity, replied, "We're not just playing notes, my friend. We're writing the cosmic score." As the team fine-tuned the prototype, they realized that the phrases had an unexpected side effect. A 43% increase in respondents who reported experiencing vivid dreams about being chased by existential terrors through a maze of philosophical thought. The lead scientist hypothesized that this was due to the neural harmonics disruptor, NHD, embedded in the warning labels, which was disrupting the listener's brain waves and inducing a state of metacognitive reverie. Meanwhile, the poet laureate was spotted scribbling equations on a chalkboard labeled Transcendental Fractal Dynamics, and muttering something about tuning the frequencies of the collective unconscious. The harmonica player's eyes widened in awe as Zorvath began to play a melody that seemed to warp and weave through the fabric of space-time. The sound was like nothing he had ever heard before, a fusion of jazz improvisation, celestial harmony, and the fundamental hum of the universe itself. As they played on, stars twinkled into existence in time with the rhythm, while galaxies aligned themselves around the resonant frequency of their music. Suddenly, Zorvath stopped, turned to the harmonica player and said, "Now it's your turn. What's the next chord?" As the team delved deeper into the mystery of the NHD's effects, they discovered that the poet's scribbles were actually a mathematical model of the subconscious mind's propensity for self-referential paradoxes. The lead scientist quipped that this was no surprise, given the poet's history of scribbling equations on his forehead during particularly intense sessions of free association. Meanwhile, team psychologist noted that the respondents who reported vivid dreams were all exhibiting a statistically significant increase in symptoms of ontological insecurity, which she attributed to the NHD's tendency to subvert the subject-object economy. The poet, Anwile, was overheard muttering something about tuning the frequencies of the collective unconscious. Again, the harmonica player, still reeling from the sonic splendor, stumbled over his words as he tried to come up with a response. Well, I was thinking of a B-flat minor, but then again, maybe an E major would be more fitting. Or perhaps we could try something entirely new and see what kind of cosmic chaos ensues. Zorvath nodded thoughtfully, tapping his foot in anticipation, as the stars in the sky began to rearrange themselves into the shape of a harmonica. Suddenly, a wisecracking intergalactic tabloid popped out of nowhere, screaming Zorvath's cosmic jam session rocks the galaxy, and a crowd of alien music critics appeared out of thin air, all clamoring for an interview. As the team continued to unravel the mystery, they found that the poet's scribbles were not only a mathematical model, but also a hidden key to unlocking the secrets of the universe. The lead scientist excitedly exclaimed, "It's like he's speaking in a language of pure chaos theory." Meanwhile, the psychologist noted that the respondents who reported vivid dreams were all experiencing a sudden onset of temporally dislocated déjà vu, which she attributed to the NHD's ability to blow the lid off the space-time continuum. The poet, ill muttering to himself, scribbled out a new equation on his palm and declared, "It's time to recalibrate the harmonics of reality." Again, the harmonica player's eyes widened as he gazed upon the impromptu gathering, his mind racing with thoughts of galactic fame and intergalactic accolades. Zorvath, Anwile was beaming with pride, his tentacles wiggling in excitement. The tabloid continued to shriek headlines like Zorvath's jam session shatters space-time continuum, and harmonica player's soul is pulled into parallel universe, sending the crowd into a frenzy of speculation and awe. As the harmonica player took his place at the center of the media storm, he couldn't help but feel like a latter-day equivalent of John Coltrane, minus the saxophone, plus a few dozen alien journalists. Well, he ventured again, trying to sound suave amidst the chaos. "I suppose this is what they mean by making music for the cosmos?" The crowd row aired in approval as Zorvath gave a knowing nod and whispered something in the harmonica player's ear. "Don't worry, my friend. With your newfound fame, we'll be able to jam our way through every galaxy in the multiverse." As the team delved deeper into the poet's scribbles, they discovered that the mathematical model was actually a blueprint for a device capable of manipulating quantum fluctuations. The physicist in charge, Dr. Thompson, began frantically scribbling equations on a whiteboard, muttering something about exotic matter signatures and event horizon resonance. Meanwhile, the philosopher chimed in with an existential tangent, asking if this meant that reality was not just relative, but also perpetually recalibrating itself like a cosmic game of telephone. The poet W, completely absorbed in his own world, began reciting a new poem titled "The Harmonics of Confusion," and the team couldn't help but wonder, were they unraveling the mystery or merely entangling themselves further? The harmonica player's eyes widened as he grasped the enormity of his new role. "Wait, you mean I'm not just playing for a crowd on Earth, but for an intergalactic audience?" Zorvath tailed and handed him a comms device that looked suspiciously like a vintage megaphone. Not only the solo show, but the eraser. Not only a hat, he said with a grin, but your music will be the soundtrack to our next big conquest. Or at least that's what we'll tell the Andromedans. The crowder erupted in cheers as the harmonica player took his cue, launching into an otherworldly solo that sent shivers through every being within a light year. Just then, a holographic projection of Louis Armstrong materialized beside him, sporting shades and a wry smile. "Hey kid, just remember, you're not playing for them out there, you're playing for the cosmos itself, and it's gonna be one wild ride." As Dr. Thompson's scribbles grew more elaborate, he suddenly stopped, looked at the poet with an intensity that bordered on reverence, and declared, "You've tapped into the Heisenberg uncertainty principle of sanity." The philosopher pounced on this, exclaiming, But does this mean we're not lost in the labyrinth of language, but rather, language is the labyrinth that's lost itself?" Meanwhile, the poet continued reciting his poem, now with a hint of maniacal glee. "In the realm of probabilistic possibility, I find myself lost in the folds of fabric space-time, where reality is a tapestry woven from the threads of confounding certainty." The Team X changed bewildered glances, and Dr. Thompson muttered, "We're either on the cusp of a breakthrough or we've collectively gone mad." As the harmonica player's fingers danced across the instrument, the hologram of Louis Armstrong began to swing his virtual arms, as if conducting an invisible orchestra. The crowd on Earth and throughout the galaxy was entranced, with beings from all corners of the universe tapping their feet or waving their appendages in time. Zorvath, may I, meanwhile, was beaming with pride, his antennae wiggling with excitement. "You know, Kaya, ID," he said to the harmonica player, "we've been preparing for this moment for centuries. The Andromedans are going to love it." Just then, a chorus of alien voices erupted from the comms device, each one trying to outdo the others in their praise of the music. "This is the most fantastic harmony we've ever heard. We're all singing along, and our harmonies are perfectly in tune. The harmony." Chia grinned, feeling like he was on top of the universe, which, in a way, he was. As the poet's words dripped like honey into the abyss of absurdity, Dr. Thompson's eyes widened in a mixture of wonder and terror, while the philosopher scribbled furiously in his notebook, muttering something about Cartesian coordinates of cognitive dissonance. The team's Totoro resident linguist, Dr. Patel, looked on with a knowing glint, whispering to the poet, "You know, my friend, you're not just lost in the labyrinth, you're creating your own fractal dimension of linguistic complexity." The philosopher interrupted, But what if I told you that this fractal is, in fact, a manifestation of the Platonic ideal of poetry, and we're merely witnessing its sublime apotheosis?" As the team's eyes glazed over in confusion, Dr. Thompson threw up his hands, proclaiming, "I think we've reached the point where the map has become indistinguishable from the metaphorical terrain, or have we simply gotten lost in our own meta-narrative?" As the last notes of the harmonica solo faded away, the hologram of Louis Armstrong gave a virtual thumbs up to the crowd and said, "That's what I'm talking about." The beings from across the galaxy erupted into applause, with some species even releasing bioluminescent confetti into space. Zorvath chuckled and handed the harmonica player a small shimmering crystal on a leather strap. "This is a genuine Quargsian star player," he said, beaming with pride. "It's said, amplify the wearer's musical talents by at least 300%. The harmonica player's eyes widened as he strung the crystal around his neck, feeling an instant surge of creativity and inspiration. With this found power, he began to improvise a series of dazzling arpeggios that sent the crowd into raptures once more. Meanwhile, in a nearby transmission booth, a team of Andromedan music critics was frantically typing away on their galactogram devices, composing a series of glowing reviews and critiques for the intergalactic music press. This young harmonica player is the most talented and innovative musician to emerge from the Sol system in centuries, wrote one particularly effusive critic. His mastery of the star player's energy is nothing short of cosmic. The room fell silent as the team's collective understanding of reality began to unravel like a thread pulled from a sweater. Dr. Patel nodded thoughtfully while the philosopher scribbled a new equation on his notebook, muttering something about Borges' infinite corridors of self-reference. Meanwhile, the poet leaned in, whispering to Dr. Thompson that he had just stumbled upon a hidden verse in the fabric of existence, one that read, "In the labyrinth of mirrors, we find our own reflections, forever trapped in an eternal loop of meta-irony." As the team sighs glazed over even further, a fly buzzed lazily around their heads as if drawn to the absurd vortex they had created. Suddenly, Dr. Thompson's phone rang. It was the department head, asking them to present their findings at the annual conference, which, incidentally, would take place in a parallel universe where the concept of time itself was merely an illusion. As the crowd continued to bask in the glory of the harmonica player's virtuosity, a delegation of dignitaries from the great nebula of Andromeda arrived on the scene, led by the esteemed Lord Arcturus himself. With a flower-ish, he presented the harmonica player with the golden Genidian star, the highest honor in intergalactic music, inscribed with the words "most extraordinary musical talent in the cosmos." The crowd erupted into cheers and applause once more, as the harmonica player, now beaming with pride, thanked Lord Arcturus and Zorvath for their generosity. Meanwhile, the Andromedan music critics were still frantically typing away, but this time they were struggling to keep up with the sheer volume of superlatives that came pouring out of their galactic RAM devices. Sensational, transcend, and incomparable. Harmony, Kepler's phone, a rare limited edition model from the XHKK galaxy, began to buzz with congratulations from A-list stars and music industry moguls from across the galaxy. As he basked in the adoration of his fans, the harmonica player couldn't help but wonder what other surprises the Quarksian star player had in store for him. As Dr. Thompson listened to the department head's instructions, his eyes darted towards the philosopher, who was now engaged in a heated debate with Dr. Patel about the implications of their findings on the fabric of space-time. The poet, meanwhile, had begun to recite his discovered verse aloud, much to the confusion of the fly, which buzzed around his head in increasingly frantic circles. The room's collective sanity began to fray further as the team members frantically scribbled notes and muttered to each other about the potential consequences of their research. Dr. Thompson's on-call seemed to have triggered a ripple effect, causing nearby realities to bleed into one another like wet watercolors on a canvas. Suddenly, as Eckenfly appeared out of nowhere, drawn by the cacophony of ideas and counter-ideas swirling through the air. As it joined the first fly in its frantic buzzing, the poet seized upon this development as evidence of his verse's prophetic accuracy. In the labyrinth of mirrors, we find our own reflections, forever trapped in an eternal loop of meta-irony, and it seems, now also entangled with a swarm of existential flies. The celebrations continued long into the night, with Lord Arcturus himself taking to the stage to deliver a rousing speech about the harmonica player's universal appeal and stellar talent. The crowd roared with approval as he presented the player with a complimentary Quarksian star player, complete with a personalized plaque that read "Galactic Harmonica Hero." Meanwhile, the Andromedan music critics were still struggling to keep up with their reviews, with one notable critic, SRHKK, declaring that the harmonica player's performance was not only transcendent, but also transdimensional. The phonian The harmonica player's Quargsian star player model continued to buzz with congratulations and endorsement deals, including a lucrative partnership with Jalunkian Space Snack.